Hey, what's up guys? I'm BTC. Over on the official Overwatch forums, Jeff Kaplan just went through a ton of different things, talking about hero balance, what's getting nerfed, what's getting buffed, what other changes we're going to see to the game, some new hero skins, all that sort of stuff. So what I'm going to do in this video is I compiled all of the stuff and I'm going to go through all of the changes that Jeff Kaplan talked about. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe because anytime Blizzard drops a lot of information like this, I'll put it all together and make a video just for you. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of it. Alright, so there is a lot of stuff here, so I'm just going to start rolling right through it. So the first thing is Genji. Is he getting a nerf, a buff, any sorts of changes? Someone was asking specifically if he was going to get a nerf, and Jeff Kaplan responded with, we talk about all of the heroes all the time here. Genji's not currently on our radar as being a balance problem. So if you were expecting a nerf or a buff for Genji anytime soon, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. They don't see him as being a problem in any way. So moving on, we have Doomfist, and there was just kind of some general comments about how Doomfist just isn't good anymore. And Jeff Kaplan responded with, what would be more helpful than, quote, what about Doomfist, would be a post clearly telling us what is wrong with Doomfist. If there are bugs that you're aware of, list them out with reproducible steps if possible, and we'll take a look. Or if you think certain abilities are underpowered, let us know which ones feel off to you. But posts that say, what about Doomfist, insert your hero here, aren't super helpful to us. Now, just recently, I made a video and I went through everything that's wrong with Doomfist. Basically, it all boils down to the fact that he has very little kind of sustain in the fight. He engages in a fight, he might get one kill if you're lucky, but then you instantly have to disengage. I mean, there's a lot more to it. You can go and check out the video. I believe it's called Doomfist is Dead. So you can go and check that video out if you want to hear more on what I think is wrong with Doomfist and how I think they can actually fix the character. But if you have any suggestions, you can go to the official forums and make your comments known as well, and maybe Blizzard will check it out. So moving on, next is Ana, who was basically put in the dumpster after Mercy got her changes. Mercy and her new Resurrect was just so incredibly powerful, it just completely overshadowed everything that Ana could do, and Ana just couldn't keep up at all. So definitely needed some changes to the character, and Jeff Kaplan has been addressing this. He said, yes, we're increasing her damage. We've been testing it internally for a while. Last night, we threw our competitive group at it, Masters and GM level players. And just a quick little side note, when he says Masters and GM level players, his competitive group, these are Blizzard employees. They're not people that they grabbed off the ladder. I just wanted to clarify that in case people didn't realize it. So he continues and he says that they really liked it also, so they will probably make it to the PTR soon. I forgot exactly what number Jeff set it to, but I think it was 70. So the new damage for Ana's regular left click is going to be 70. Now, while I think this is definitely nice, I don't think that is really the main problem with Ana. I don't think that was the issue that's keeping her from being used. It's the fact that the Resurrect is so incredibly powerful, and Ana simply doesn't have anything that can really compete with it. Now, he does go into some Mercy changes, we're going to get to that in just a minute, but even with those changes, Ana, I don't know, I just don't see a damage increase as being what you need. One of the things that I think that really could do that would not only be a quality of life improvement for Ana, but would just make the character better overall, is if your left clicks that do healing would pass through your teammates that are already at full health. So let's say you have a couple of teammates, you know, there's a Roadhog who is taking a little bit of damage, and in between him and you is like a Reinhardt or something, right? The Reinhardt's already at full damage, you shoot through him, and it goes and it hits the Roadhog on the other side, and it will heal him. Now, yes, I realized that this would lower the skill requirement for the character, and normally that is something that I would be very much against, but I think that this would actually be a nice little way of helping the character, because one of the major drawbacks of Ana is when you have a bunch of teammates that are grouped up, it can be very difficult to actually heal the one that you want to heal. Even for the very high skill players, if one of your teammates is simply in the way, then you can't heal the guy on the other side. And by the time you shift to the side in order to get a better angle, then your teammate might be dead already. So I think that would not only just be a quality of life improvement, but it would also help buff the character and make it a little bit more viable. But I mean, that's just one of many things. Also, they should probably put the speed boost back onto the Nano. So next up is Hanzo. Real fast, a while back, they said that they were going to add 3 new legendary skins for Hanzo. So far, we've only gotten one of them. So Jeff Kaplan responded and he says, yes, don't worry. The other 2 are basically coming along. You just have to have a little bit of patience. But he also talked about some balance issues. So specifically, it was scatter shot. And this is what he had to say. We've been talking about scatter arrow since 2014. It's always been controversial. The claim that it takes no skill is not really fair. It's a well-placed shot. It just happens to do a lot of damage and doesn't feel particularly good to be on the receiving end of, especially if you're someone like Orisa. The fantasy of shooting into someone's feet is clearly not what we were going for, but that's where we're at right now. In his current state, if you nerfed Scatter Arrow, Hanzo would be pretty anemic. If anything, he needs some help right now. So it's tricky with Hanzo. He's being heavily discussed right now. Alright, so I'm just going to be totally blunt right now. When he says that Scatter Arrow requires a well-placed shot, that's simply not true. Okay? Yes, you have to be decent at the character in order to consistently land those one-hit Scatter Arrows, but it's not really that difficult to do. And the fact that it does so much damage, it does 450 damage, is even if you're not exactly dead on, you still do a tremendous... You can hit with half of the scatter and still kill most of the characters in the game. So even if you mostly miss, you can still do a tremendous amount of damage. But the main problem with the scatter arrow is it's all reward and no risk. So there are other abilities in the game that can one-hit kill stuff, like Reinhardt's Charge or Doomfist's Rocket Punch or stuff like that. But in order to do it, you have to put yourself in some amount of risk. You have to charge into the enemy. And there's a chance that you could mess it up, and then they can catch you, and then they can kill you, right? But with Hanzo, he can fire off the scatter arrow from safety from a pretty good distance away. If he misses, it doesn't do anything. Like, there's absolutely no risk to it whatsoever. That is the problem with the scatter arrow. It's all reward and no risk. But the problem is, if you nerf the scatter arrow, then Hanzo just becomes absolute garbage. And I'm glad that he recognizes and actually says this as well. I mean, he said Hanzo would be anemic, but you basically get the idea. So the problem is, you have to nerf the scatter arrow, but you would also have to buff other aspects of Hanzo to bring him up so that it can kind of compensate for that. Now, what they plan on doing about it, I have no idea, because he doesn't say. All he says is that it's being heavily discussed right now. So that leads us to the last character we're going to talk about. I'm sure most of you already know who it's going to be, but someone asked Jeff Kaplan, they said, what heroes currently are a problem for you guys? And Jeff Kaplan responded simply with Mercy. So very clearly, Mercy is the biggest problem in the game right now. He further went on and said, reworking a hero is hard. Sometimes you get it right on the first try, sometimes you need some iteration. Mercy needs a little iteration. Overall, she's a lot more dynamic and fun to play now, but Resurrect is too powerful and still playing out like an ultimate ability. It's not her ultimate anymore and needs to be toned down to feel more like a secondary ability. Mercy will still be awesome to play. She is one of the most beloved heroes, but the tuning of her Resurrect is off currently and needs to be brought in line. He continues with, her job is to heal. We want healing to feel good for her and to feel good for people she's healing. Healing is the thing that is core and primary to Mercy above all. Secondary to that would be her mobility. We don't want her focus to be Resurrect. Alright, so with the whole Mercy situation, I've talked about this at length in previous videos. I think I've made entire videos talking about this, so I don't want to go too much into it. But the bottom line is that Resurrect is an ability that is unlike anything else. It is always going to be either extremely strong or extremely weak, depending on how they tune it. There is no middle ground for Resurrect, and the reason for that is because it doesn't function the same way as the other abilities do in the game. So for all of the other abilities in the game, whether it's a shield, a speed boost, a biotic grenade, temporary health, it doesn't matter what it is. All of the other abilities in the game will either slightly improve a character that's currently in a fight, or it will slightly hinder a character that's in a fight. But with Resurrect, it doesn't do that. It takes someone that's completely out of the fight entirely and brings them back into it at full health. So these are two completely different things. Imagine basically if a car is going, 30 miles an hour, and then you give it, some sort of beneficial buff from another character, then it speeds up to like 35 or 40 miles an hour. Or if it's a negative effect, then it might slow down to like 25 or 20. But what Resurrect does is it doesn't slightly increase or decrease the speed of that car. It takes it from 0 to 100 instantly. And that is why it will always either be really, really powerful, or it's going to be really, really weak. The only thing that they can do, really, is to kind of like change the timers on it. And the cooldown for Resurrect is already the longest in the game. So if you can use the ability once or twice in a fight, it's going to be really powerful. But if you nerf it so much that it can only be used once every other fight, then it's basically going to be garbage. Like I said, there is no middle ground. Now, another thing I want to point out is some people have suggested that, oh, well, what if Resurrect didn't bring someone back to full health? What if it brought him back at like 50% or 80% or something like that? That actually wouldn't be a nerf in most cases. In most situations, that would actually be a buff for Mercy, because what would happen is you resurrect the character and then Mercy would instantly start healing them, and she would basically just build her ultimate faster. So it would actually be a buff to her. I mean, yes, there are going to be situations where Mercy isn't able to heal them right after rezzing them, but for the majority of it, she's going to be able to. So for the most part, it's going to be a buff. So that's not really a viable option. Now, another thing that you could do is make it so that Resurrect isn't an instant thing. Make it so that Resurrect actually takes like, 2 or 3 seconds and it's a channeled ability. But if you did that, then it would significantly hinder her mobility and it would kind of conflict with what they want to do for the character. Now, I have no idea what they plan on doing, but my suggestion is the same that it's always been. Treat Resurrect as if it is the baseline of what a support should have, and then simply give the other characters abilities that are comparable in power level. I don't want to go all Dragon Ball Z on you guys, but I think you get the idea. Like, Lucio has the speed boost, which for a very, very long time was amazing because he's the only one that can do it. The problem is like the whole biotic grenade and the Discord orb, while they're really good, they're not at the same level as Resurrect is. And that's my point. So Ana and Zenyatta need to be brought up to where Mercy is. So there you have it, guys. That was a ton of stuff that just got dropped on the official forums. If there's anything more, I will be sure to let you guys know. What do you think about all of this stuff? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The links for that stuff is down below. Thanks for watching. Remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.